Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. There is a lot of fear going around the market right now as one of the earliest Bitcoin addresses ever has recently actually started moving his coins, and it's caused a huge panic across the market. This is causing Bitcoin's price to sell off a little bit, and it's also causing some of the altcoins to follow suit. Is this the start of a bigger correction inside of Bitcoin, or is this just a short-term shakeout before we start breaking up and heading to that 14K level? I've gone through and made a bunch of really exciting charts for you guys today that are going to perfectly explain what's happening with your altcoins. It's going to explain what is happening with Bitcoin, and I'm going to talk about how you guys can actually profit and what things have changed recently that make me very bullish for altcoins heading forward. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Make sure that you guys click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. And as always, I have an amazing Discord community with over 6,000 members. We're getting so close to 7,000, so make sure you guys join. It's totally free for anybody that wants to. All you gotta do is click in the description of this video, and there you're gonna find the invitation link to my Discord server. Now, with that being said, I also offer some of my more exclusive content like the video course and signals. So if you're somebody that wants to learn exact trading strategies on how to be a profitable cryptocurrency trader and analyst inside of this market, I've gone through and made 20 educational videos that teach you guys all of my exact strategies, all of the other strategies that I've learned from other top analysts inside of the space, as well as any other courses that I've paid for over the course of my 4 years in crypto. I'm going to teach you guys all of those in the 20-part series, so make sure that you guys check that out. Now, the signals are a way for you guys to copy my portfolio. It's structured around you guys knowing exactly all of the trades that I'm taking, along with all of my long-term holds as well. You'll know exactly how I've structured my portfolio, and you guys will be able to actually copy along with those trades and profit alongside with me. So this is a really good way for you guys to learn some educational content on how to be a profitable analyst, as well as copy my portfolio so that you can make money along the way with me. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, all you gotta do is click in the description. There you're gonna find the invitation link and shoot me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now, with all that being said, guys, thank you all so much for the support. We got a lot of really exciting things to cover in today's video. So without further ado, let's jump right into it today. Alrighty guys, here we are taking a look at Bitcoin on the dollar. Now Bitcoin, obviously you guys can tell we're at about $9,500. We have had a little bit of a sell-off over the last hour or so. Ever since I woke up, we've seen Bitcoin kind of dump off. So I wanted to go through and talk about some things. Is this the end of the world? Are we going to see a bigger correction? Or is this just a short-term shakeout? Because if maybe you guys didn't hear, basically what's been going on is there was an actual Bitcoin miner or just a Bitcoin address from clear back in 2009, over 11 years at this point. And this guy has never moved any of his cryptos. He actually ended up sending some of his Bitcoin over to Coinbase, and he sent about 50 Bitcoin, which obviously 50 Bitcoin really isn't even worth that much in retrospect compared to how many people actually dump money in here. But nonetheless, we still saw a little bit of a panic selling taking place. And so, you know, this was kind of a little catalyst that we saw here. So let's go through here and talk about some scenarios that I wanted to watch for. I wanted to keep you guys really updated and transparent around my trading plan and how I'm actually looking at this. Because for me personally, you know, I've got some cash on hand. I've been holding some cash ready to buy up a dip as soon as we got one. I managed to buy a little bit of this dip, but I only bought about Chainlink and Tezos. So I was happy with that considering those two have outperformed the majority of the market. So I did buy some here, but I didn't leverage in with a giant amount of cash. And I plan on doing that in a next bigger retrace. Is that going to happen here? Who knows? It might not. We might even just keep going up here, but let's talk about some levels. Now, really, we have this major resistance. I'm sure that you guys know of this already. We have this major resistance here at about, you know, $10,500. This $10,500 mark has been a major resistance for the last couple times. We've rejected off of it here, rejected off it here, and then here. And so we've actually kind of gotten back close within that same range. In fact, we're right there at that range again. And, you know, we're selling off right now. And so there's a couple things that I want to talk about today. Exactly, if we do sell off and we make a little bit of a lower retrace, where could that see us heading? Now, let's talk about a bearish scenario here because I'm usually always focused on the bullish. Let's talk about a bearish scenario here. With this, you know, let's say that we get rejected right here and we make our lower lows and we actually start to sell off. That would have this looking to me like an ABC correction, and we would actually fall back down to about $7,400. in the case of that happening, I would be deploying as much cash as I possibly could on the market, because I would look at that as an amazing buying opportunity. In that, if that was the case, then in my opinion, the wave count would look something like this. This would be the 1, this would be the 3, and then that would have been the 5. And then this would have completed our first impulse before we actually do start breaking out, and then we really start going parabolic upwards of that all-time high. So even in the bearish scenario, this is still a one-wave impulse. You know, we'll retrace a little bit further. It'll be a little crazy, but nonetheless, we will get a really good buying opportunity inside of that market. And then that would set us up for the next major impulse inside of that cycle. And so that's something to pay attention for and something I would watch for as far as a bearish scenario. But nonetheless, I'm expecting that we wouldn't go lower than 74. At this point, because we got such a strong impulse, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that we'd need to come all the way back down to, you know, 6,400. It is possible nonetheless, and I don't want you guys to think that it is impossible for us to do that. But, you know, that would be a very, very sharp decline in price, and I wouldn't find it as likely that that was going to be the scenario. I mean, from the high to the low would be about 35%, and so it's not unseen from anything up to this point inside of crypto. But at 7,400, that would seem a little bit more logical to me. And for me personally, if we started selling off strongly, I wouldn't really start to buy until we hit closer to that $7,400 mark, which would be about a 26% correction, which I think is more likely than 64, but both of them are possible, and it's just something that we have to consider when watching these markets. But nonetheless, I think that this has just as much potential as going up, and so let's actually dive in here. And let's talk about some things in a little bit of a shorter time frame, because for me, this is still holding bullish market structure. Even with this short-term correction, even with all this fear, this to me just looks like short-term bullish consolidation. And really, we've been bouncing off of this trend line since the original crash from about the 12th to 13th of March. And, you know, we're kind of just in this zone right here where we're sitting, where we've kind of got this short-term horizontal resistance built. We've rejected off of it 3 or 4 different times. And now we're just kind of correcting from that point. Now, we are kind of in no man's land. We're not really on this trend line, but we're not at resistance either. We're just kind of consolidating. And so I really wouldn't be surprised if we ended up getting a short-term correction that takes us back down to about 9K. And then from there, we would start the next impulse in that trend. And so look for the next week to kind of see how this is going to play out, whether we have to come back down and retest this previous trend line that we've been bouncing off of. Or, you know, if we nuke through this trend line, you guys know that 7,400 is going to be my next target. And, you know, depending on how big that correction gets, it is possible that we could go all the way down to about 6,400. That's my least probable scenario here. But nonetheless, it is a probability that I am watching for. But until we break this trend line, I don't see why this is just going to fail support. I mean, realistically, if we don't start bouncing and really get a buyback from this sell-off, I would expect us to come back down and hit this trend line, which would be, you know, 9,100 to about 9K approximately, which would actually coexist really nicely with this $9,100 level that we've been watching for. So it's actually the first level in which I accumulated spot bids for Bitcoin. And we can see that that would line us up perfectly with a retest of not only the trend line that we've been holding, but a retest of that support once again. Now, I think that this is more likely that we're bullish, considering how strong the trend is right now. That's what I'm going to lead towards. And so something to pay attention for. So my bullish scenario either has this looking like this was the 1, this was the 3, and then we'll have one more 5-wave impulse. But that wave count looks a little bit janky to me right off the bat. I would say that it would look something more along the lines of this. This was the 3, and then we'll get one more 5-wave that will take us upwards of that 12 to 14K mark. And so this is going to be the count that I'm sticking to. I still believe that we're going to get one more impulse up that's going to take us. And really, guys, as long as we flip this level that we're at right here, this $9,100 level, as long as we hold support above this level, even if we sell off a little bit lower, as long as we hold above this level at 9,100, that to me is very bullish. And that's going to set us up for that next impulse upwards of 12 to 14K. And to be honest, guys, I'm leaning towards the scenario of us actually heading to that 14K mark, which would be the cycle high up here. And the reason for that is just because I think that this was such a strong resistance level that the second that we flip that, it's going to give us a lot of euphoria, very similar to what we saw back in here. During the initial impulse of Bitcoin, we kind of rounded out here for a few months. And then when we started breaking out, where a lot of people were expecting this head and shoulder top, we ended up breaking out and making the biggest impulse of that cycle. And I've been sharing with you guys how I figured that these two are still very correlated in the same degree. Really, down here is the accumulation. Same thing happens here. And then we hit this point where we break out. The breakout takes us right here. That's basically where we're at. This point right now is basically the same as right here. And it looks almost the same to me as well. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference, but not necessarily. And I think that that's really what this is painting before, we have another one of these big impulses, a big euphoric pump. And then, in my opinion, that'll take us upwards of that 14K mark. And so this is the way I'm going to be trading Bitcoin. I want to talk to you guys about my overall analysis with that. But nonetheless, guys, with all that being said, we're very close to hitting that point in the cycle where after this next impulse, as long as support holds here, when we head upwards to that 14K mark, at that point, we're going to see that little short-term correction. We might come back down and retest about 10,000 to 10.5. And then, in my opinion, that was going to be what takes us upwards of that next move to 20,000. In my opinion, we've finished the slow consolidation of the bull run, and we're now going to start that next major impulse. And we're going to start seeing those big impulses without the same major corrections that we've seen up to this point. Keep in mind, it is possible that we have the bearish scenario where we reject and end up coming back down to retest 74. But nonetheless, that would just look like an inverse head and shoulder formation. And then still that would set us up for 14K. Because realistically, guys, no matter what way you're looking at it, that would look like a head and shoulder formation. And if you traded the head and shoulder formation and you looked for real targets, that would actually take you of a target of about 16,000. And so really, no matter what way we're looking at here, I see more reasons for bullish market structure. It doesn't really change my strategy. If we sell off and go to 74, I'm just using my cash to buy the dip. And that's kind of the strategy I think that everybody else should be looking for. Nonetheless, we're very bullish right now. The short-term correcting is over, in my opinion, and we're going to start seeing the next big impulses coming. Now, this is what takes me to the next part of this chart, which is the Bitcoin dominance. Now, this is very important, guys. This is something we've been updating with for a while now. We've been watching very closely to kind of see what was going to happen with this. And we really got some confirmation, and that's very, very important to me. Now, basically what we're seeing here, I told you guys, I've been updating you guys and saying that a close above 65 to 66% dominance was bullish. And guys, we're above that level, but the way that the market structure is looking, this looks like a pretty nasty looking rejection. And so even though we are above this level, if we hold support above this level, even with this rejection, it is possible that we could still continue to go up in this cycle. And so we're just at a very, very important part. But nonetheless, guys, this is a really nasty looking rejection. And if we go to a monthly time frame, you're going to be able to see that. Now, if there's any sort of way that this, if there's any sort of way that this is bearish, I'd say that this is going to kind of paint that picture. Because, yeah, we did get that wick up, and it did go past the cycle high at 71%. But nonetheless, this is a very big rejection. And if you look on the weekly, you can see, we're getting a bearish engulfing candle with a giant wick on the top of that. And so even though I said that as long as we're above 65 to 66% dominance, we're bullish, it's still very important to understand that we could still be seeing a rejection right now where we're at. We did retest the previous resistance, or previous, we did retest the previous resistance. Well, we did retest the previous support, and it's now acting as resistance. We can see that we had attempts at this level twice, 3 times, and then we actually wicked at that level and retested that. And so that's very good overall if you are bearish, because it's not like we have to go to the 79% dominance and hit this trend line. It's possible that we could reject here at this area that we're at right now. And so with us seeing this big rejection, this is very bullish for altcoins. Altcoin Bitcoin pairs are going to be performing well in this time, which is a very good confidence builder considering the fact Bitcoin's retracing. So with us seeing Bitcoin retracing, the dollar pairs are going to get hit by that, but the Bitcoin pairs are going to start uptrending. And so that's a very bullish sign, which is actually what takes me to this Chainlink chart. I actually ended up buying some spot. I also bought some, I went margin long here in Chainlink. And the reason for that was because, guys, this looks like one of the best looking charts out there in all of crypto, especially considering that this is a Bitcoin pair. You really just don't see Bitcoin pairs make these size of impulses and just consistently going parabolic. A lot of the time, they build up, they pump, and then they fully retrace, and they pump and fully retrace. Look at XRP, for example. But what we're seeing here inside of Chainlink is market structure that every time we bounce off of this trend line, we impulse and go higher. And this is just showing a parabolic trend that's getting steeper and steeper. And really, to me, this does not look like it's anywhere close to being over. We haven't really seen a blow off top yet. This to me just looks like steady accumulation on that trend line. And we really got to see a big impulse coming, a very, very big impulse to make me a little bit bearish. You know, something along the lines of that, where we'd see that blow off top, and then we might need to come back down from there. But we still need a very big blow off top before I would personally look at this as a completed market cycle. And even then, guys, even if this is the top and we crash, this thing would still probably keep uptrending, and we might just start a new parabolic trend in its place. But I bought spot because, you know, we were back at this trend line. I posted signals inside of my Discord, so make sure if you guys want to copy my signals, you know, you guys would have got alerted and you would have bought this trend line and you'd be in profit right now. So that's very important to copy those signals that I do offer in the Discord, so make sure you guys message me. But, you know, with this showing strength, we were on this trend line. I went ahead and pulled the trigger because we'd bounced off of it every time thus far. I'm going to continue to ride that trend, and, you know, we're impulsing from that. So that's a very bullish sign. If altcoins are showing strength with Bitcoin retracing, that's just more reason to think that altcoins are going to continue to show strength further down the line. Now, let's actually look at Ethereum here, because Ethereum is also getting a little bit of a relief rally. Now, keep in mind, guys, with Ethereum right now, Ethereum doesn't look nearly as good as Chainlink to me, and we're still below resistance. So until we reclaim 0.022 on this Ethereum Bitcoin pair, until we reclaim this level, I'm going to continue to be bearish. I'm going to assume that this is actually going to head a little bit lower, maybe get one more leg down, but nonetheless, if we can reclaim this area, then that's going to set us up for a pretty big rise. I think that that would set us up for the next big impulse in that cycle, but we're going to have to watch and see, because we're at a very peculiar point where, you know, we still are above the 66% dominance. Even with this big ugly rejection, we could still keep going up and hit that 79% dominance, but really just got to watch and see what happens with Bitcoin and these altcoin pairs as well, because with Ethereum, this to me doesn't look the best. I really don't like this market structure nearly as much as other people do. And if we do end up rejecting and continuing to fall lower, then realistically, my target's going to be down in here, which would be approximately 0.01 Bitcoin. And so that's what I'm going to watch out for with Ethereum. Unless we get a strong impulse that actually starts breaking back above the resistance levels, I'm going to expect a lower low. With Chainlink showing strength, I personally think that this one will actually continue to go up and do well. And that's kind of the outlier of the rest of the market. Chainlink has been doing well. It's been outperforming. And so these are just things to consider right now. I want to talk about the Bitcoin chart. I want to talk about this fear, this panic selling that we're seeing right now. It is possible that once we sell through this trend line, we would actually come back down and retest, you know, the New Year support. Something to pay attention for. But with that being said, the rejection that we're seeing right now is very good for altcoins. And so there's a lot of cool factors that are in play right now. This is a more technical video. I didn't really talk a lot about some other things. I didn't show and just label things quite as normal. But anyways, guys, this is the video I had for you. If you found value in this, always remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you guys message me if you want access to the video course and signals. Video course is an excellent resource to teach you guys all of my exact skills that I use to trade in these markets. And, you know, the signals are a good way to copy my portfolio and just make money along with my trading plan. So if either of these are interesting to you, message me inside of my Discord, and I'll get back to you with all of the information you need. But with all that being said, I will see you in the next video. As always, peace out.